So I wanted to talk to you about factoring trinomials, specifically factoring trinomials that don't have a number in front of the x squared. So first of all, let me remind you guys what a trinomial is. This is just a three-term polynomial. Okay. For example, what we're going to be working with today specifically is something like x squared plus 5x plus 6. We're specifically looking at something that only has an x squared. This, by the way, is also known as a quadratic. And in another video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about solving a quadratic using the quadratic formula, because there are two different ways to go about factoring or solving something that has an x squared in it. So we're going to start off, actually going to show you a little bit differently. We're going to talk about some patterns that occur when we're multiplying so that we can use those patterns to actually help us factor. So if I want to, let's say, multiply x plus 3 times x minus 7. Now, hopefully, this is somewhat familiar to you guys, and we're going to use the concept of FOIL, which is that first, outer, inner, last. And I'm going to take and multiply the first two terms together. That's our f of FOIL right here. So that's the f. So x times x gives us x squared. Then we're going to do the outsides. So that would be the x times the negative 7. That's our O of FOIL. And that would give us negative 7x. And then we're going to do the inside or the inner two terms, and that would be positive 3x. And then our last term is that negative 7 times 3. That's going to be the last two terms of each one, which in this case would give us negative 21. Now, the cool thing about FOIL is that when you finish it, 99% of the time, your center two terms, these guys right here in the center, are going to combine together because they're going to be like terms. And in this case, they're both x's. So we get to combine that down to x squared minus 4x minus 21. Now, the reason I wanted to do it this way is because factoring is nothing more than going the opposite direction of FOIL. So FOIL, we're taking it from the parentheses, we're bringing it down to the trinomial. Whereas for factoring, we're down here at the trinomial, and we want to know what two parentheses we have to multiply together. Now, there's some patterns that emerge. So if you notice this negative 21, the way we got that was from multiplying the last two terms of each parentheses. So in this case, this was by multiplying negative 7 and a positive 3. And remember, it doesn't really matter what order I write those in as long as they're multiplication. So we got that through multiplication. Well, now if we think about this guy right here, this negative 4, if you think about how we got that, if you look backwards, notice that what are we combining here? We're combining the 7 and the 3, which happen to be the same numbers in our parentheses. So we got that by adding a 3 plus a negative 7. And again, these two numbers here and here correspond back to the numbers in our parentheses. Now, I do want to point something out. This only works this way because the very first term in each parentheses is only an x. So we can kind of shortcut that. So again, if I want to do a multiplication problem, very similar to the one we just did, and I want to say, let's multiply x plus 9 times x plus 2. Okay, so notice that I'm still leading off with my x, and they're just a plain old x, so I can actually do my cheat that I just learned about from the previous problem. So I know that my x times my x is going to give me my x squared. I know that for my middle term, I'm going to take this guy, and we're going to add them. Okay, so in this case, 9 plus 2, that would give us 11, and it's going to be plus 11x And then for my last term, I'm going to take this guy, and we're going to multiply them. So 9 times 2 would be 18, so this would be plus 18. Okay, so again, if as long as this guy is just an x and this guy is also just an x, we can use kind of a shortcut FOIL, and where we're kind of doing a little bit of cheating because we know how the numbers are going to work together. That's how we're going to do our backwards. We know how the numbers work together, so we can go backwards because we know we want two numbers that are going to multiply to this last guy and that are also going to add to the center guy of 11x. So that way, if we know the pattern going forward, we can repeat the pattern going backwards. The biggest thing we're going to have to really pay attention to is our signs, because they do change quite a bit of logic on our problems. But this is all about just figuring out how to go backwards.